Be me, greater than 23, living in a big, noisy city, working some small, boring office job daily. At night, I hang out in coffee shops. Been dating this girl almost 2 years. Sometimes feel like we're totally different inside. But I always believed love could handle anything. That night we sat in this tiny cafe, her fingers spinning a spoon in cold tea. She kept looking away from me on purpose. I could feel tension crawling under my skin. You happy? I finally asked out loud. Pause hung heavier than any answer could. She swallowed hard and almost smiled weakly. You know I've always valued us, she said. Her voice cracked like glass under pressure. So what's going on? I tried to meet her eyes. She stayed silent, her hands shaking above the cup. Her breathing got short like she couldn't catch air. Then suddenly she whispered barely audible words. I'm scared we want different things. World around me froze like oxygen got cut off. I sat frozen, heart pounding high in my throat. Was this the end or start of honesty? The cafe buzzed, but it all blurred away. I looked at her, and she felt distant, like she wasn't the same girl I knew. Between us grew this space, full of unspoken stuff. I tried to smile to calm her down, but my smile came out crooked and cold. She turned her eyes toward the city lights outside. Maybe you want a life that's not mine. Those words hit harder than I could handle. Felt like a kid about to lose everything. My tea sat untouched, gone completely cold. Thoughts ran everywhere except the present moment. I wondered if we were strong enough to last. Answer was hiding in her trembling hands, and I was terrified to hear it out loud. We left the cafe, walking through the evening streets. I kept quiet while she stared at shop windows. Her silence was heavier than any argument ever. Finally she spoke, voice low but sharp. You dream about traveling, new cities, faster life. I just want to settle down, have a home. My reply came out harsher than I meant. So what? That's a problem. I shot back. She stopped dead in the middle of the sidewalk. Looked at me with eyes full of confusion. Not a problem. I just don't know, she said. I don't know if you'd be happy with me. And I don't know if I'd be happy with you. Those words burned my chest like fire spreading fast. I loved her, but did love mean same future? Or just holding on while going opposite directions? I wanted to argue, but words wouldn't come out. Just the sound of traffic rushing around us. Felt like the whole city listened to our silence. My hands clenched, wishing I could fix everything. Then it happened. Tears rolled down her face suddenly. Right there in the middle of the crowded street. People walked by, pretending not to notice us. I wrapped my arms around her without thinking twice. But inside I didn't know if this was goodbye, or the last chance we had to save us. She buried her face against my chest, shaking hard. I kept whispering nonsense, just to calm her down. World blurred out until it was just me and her. Two lost people stuck between staying and leaving. My heart wanted to promise everything she needed, but my head kept asking if I could deliver. Some stranger bumped my shoulder and kept walking. Reminded me life doesn't pause for anyone's heartbreak. I held her tighter, not knowing what else to do. Didn't know if letting go meant forever this time. Her tears soaked through my shirt and into me. Every sob felt like a nail into my ribs. I wanted to say we'll make it work, but I wasn't sure if that was true. Silence stayed, louder than any words I could give. Next morning, sun slipped through her half-open blinds. We sat on the windowsill like nothing had happened. City outside buzzed with cars and random voices. Inside the room, it felt heavy and fragile. She held a coffee mug with both hands shaking. I just stared at the steam curling into nothing. Finally, she broke the silence I couldn't handle. I don't know what's coming next, she said softly. Her words hit like both a threat and a promise. My chest tightened, waiting for the rest to drop. She looked at me with tired but honest eyes. But I want to try. With you. I smiled back, though it felt weak and forced. Deep inside, I knew how thin that thread was. Like any second it could snap without warning. Love felt like standing on a cliff's edge together. One wrong step, and everything would fall apart. Still, her words lit a spark in the dark. A spark saying maybe we weren't done yet. I reached out and squeezed her trembling fingers. She squeezed back like she didn't want to let go. But my head still spun with restless questions. Were we just buying time before the real end? Or had we actually chosen to fight for us? Every time I looked in her eyes, I searched for an answer that never came clearly. Her smile flickered on and off like a weak light. Truth is, I was just as unsure as her. But maybe being unsure together was enough somehow. We talked about nothing, laughed about random memories. Each laugh felt like a fragile bridge rebuilding. I didn't dare push her for deeper answers, afraid she'd break again like last night. Instead, I let the quiet moments breathe between us. Watched her hair catch the morning light gently. Those tiny moments reminded me why I loved her. But they also reminded me what we could lose. And losing her scared me more than anything. Outside the window, a bus roared by shaking glass. Life kept moving fast, even while we hesitated. We stayed frozen in that small room together, both hoping silence could protect what words might destroy. Later that week, we walked along the riverfront. Lights from the city rippled across dark water. She leaned against the railing, staring out quietly. I kicked at a loose pebble, buying time. "You still thinking about us?" I asked carefully. She nodded, but didn't look back at me. "Every day," she whispered, almost to herself. Wind whipped her hair across her face gently. I wanted to brush it aside, but hesitated. Didn't know if I still had that right. "So what do you want then?" I asked. My voice cracked like I wasn't ready for her answer. She took forever before finally turning toward me. Eyes red, but steady, like she made a choice. "I want to feel safe, not rushed," she said. Those words dug into me deeper than expected, because I always wanted fast, exciting, changing things. But she needed calm, roots, something I couldn't fake. Part of me wanted to argue right there. Part of me just wanted to hold her again. We ended up sitting on a cold bench. Silence stretched between us like a third person listening. She traced shapes on her jeans with her finger. I tapped my foot against the pavement nervously. Finally she laughed, sharp but shaky at once. "Look at us. Can't even plan a weekend," she said. I forced a chuckle, though it stung pretty hard. Because she was right, we couldn't plan tomorrow. Yet both of us scared to admit it straight. Street musicians played nearby, strumming a slow, sad tune. Almost like the whole city mocked our mood. I leaned back, staring up at the night sky. Wondered if other couples fought the same battle. Between dreams that don't line up anymore. She leaned into me just slightly, testing ground. I wrapped an arm around her without thinking. Felt her relax, but only for a second. Then she pulled back, like remembering something heavy. Her walls were up again, stronger than before. I sighed but kept quiet, didn't push her. Because sometimes silence is safer than the truth. A couple nights later we argued in my car. Rain slammed the windshield like it wanted to join in. She crossed her arms, staring straight out the window. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles whitened. "You always want to run from everything," she snapped. "And you always want to stay stuck," I shot back. Words fired faster than either of us could control. Anger boiled over things we'd buried too long. Her voice cracked, not from rage, but from hurt. "Do you even see me in your future?" The question stabbed deep, leaving me speechless instantly. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Because I honestly didn't know the answer myself. Silence filled the car, heavier than the storm outside. Wipers squeaked uselessly across the soaked glass. I finally muttered, "I don't want to lose you." She turned, eyes glossy, whispering, "Then prove it." My chest caved in under the weight of those words. I didn't even know what proving it meant. But I knew doing nothing would destroy us. Days passed with us pretending everything was fine, like we could tape over cracks with fake smiles. Friends noticed, but didn't dare ask too much. We laughed at dinners, held hands in public. But behind closed doors we barely talked anymore. Our apartment felt more like two separate worlds. I'd stay late at work just to avoid silence. She'd hide in books and endless cups of tea. We brushed shoulders in the hallway like strangers sometimes. Every touch felt like asking permission again. One night, she left her journal on the couch. I didn't mean to read, but my eyes caught it. Pages filled with scribbles about doubts and fears. Lines that sounded exactly like the things I felt. Like she was speaking my thoughts without me knowing. "I love him, but is that enough?" she wrote. My throat closed up reading those raw words. I put the journal down fast, hands shaking bad. Because suddenly I realized how close we were. Close to falling apart without even saying goodbye. Next morning, she acted normal, like nothing happened. Smiled making breakfast, humming some random old song. I watched her move around the kitchen in silence. Every step felt like she was slipping further away. I wanted to ask about the journal badly, but fear glued my tongue down to my throat. Instead, I kissed her cheek, pretending everything was okay. Her smile didn't quite reach her tired eyes, though, and that hurt more than any argument ever could. As she poured coffee, I whispered almost to myself, What if we're just forcing something broken? She froze with the pot still in her hand, turned slowly, face pale like I'd hit a nerve. Don't say that, she begged under her breath. But her voice shook like she believed it too. My heart twisted watching her fight back tears. I stepped closer, touched her arm gently, carefully. I need to know if we're real. She closed her eyes, letting silence answer instead. And that silence cut sharper than any blade. Later that night, we sat outside on her porch. The air smelled like rain and old wood. Neighbors' lights flickered on one by one nearby. We didn't talk for the longest time. Finally, she whispered, "I'm scared you'll leave me." I swallowed hard, fighting my own hidden fears. "I'm scared you'll be the one to leave," I said. For once, we were both completely honest. The raw truth made the space between us softer. Like admitting it pulled down some invisible walls. She leaned her head against my shoulder slowly. I felt her breathing steady against me quietly. Maybe fear wasn't the enemy, but silence was. Because the silence let doubt grow like poison. We stayed like that until the porch light burned out. Just two people trying to hold each other together. Knowing love alone might not be enough forever. But also knowing we weren't ready to quit. Not yet. Not while our hearts still begged for more. Not while we both still had fight left in us. A weekend trip came up out of nowhere. Her friend offered us a cabin by the lake. I thought maybe change of scenery could help us. She agreed, but packed with this heavy, quiet vibe. Drive there felt long with only music filling gaps. Sometimes her hand found mine, but slipped away fast. Like she wanted comfort, but didn't trust it fully. We arrived late, stars wide open above the water. Inside the cabin smelled of pine and old firewood. She curled up on the couch with a blanket. I sat across, staring at her silhouette in lamplight. "You think this is going to save us?" I asked. She looked at me, eyes soft but sad. "I think nothing can save us unless we want it." Those words sat heavy in the air like smoke. She wasn't wrong, and that scared me most. I wanted to say I wanted it badly, but my lips froze like they were chained shut. Instead, I nodded weakly, afraid of saying the wrong thing. And the silence between us grew bigger than the room. Next morning, fog rolled over the lake slowly. She stood outside wrapped in a sweater, shivering. I joined her with 2 mugs of coffee steaming. We watched ducks glide across the glassy water. "This place feels too peaceful for us," she said. I half smiled. Maybe peace is what we need. She leaned into the railing, eyes distant and thoughtful. "You ever wonder if love's supposed to feel easy?" Her question hit harder than she realized instantly. Because no, it never felt easy for us anymore. I wanted to tell her love's not always easy, but I knew she was asking something deeper. Like if hard meant worth it, or just doomed. I wrapped an arm around her anyway, gently. She didn't move away this time, just sighed heavy. Fog lifted slowly, but tension stayed stuck between us. It felt like the lake held our secrets too. Calm surface hiding the chaos underneath quietly. And both of us afraid to stir the water. Afraid the truth might drown us if we did. That night we built a fire in the cabin. Flames crackled while shadows danced across her face. She sat close, but still felt miles away. I poked at the logs just to keep busy. Finally, she broke the silence with shaky words. "If we can't make each other happy long term, should we even keep trying?" She asked softly. My stomach dropped hearing the thoughts spoken out loud. I wanted to scream no, don't give up yet. But part of me feared she was right. We were dragging ourselves across sharp edges lately, bleeding slowly but refusing to look at the cuts. I set the poker down, looked her straight in the eyes. "I don't know the future," I admitted honestly, "but I know I still want you in it." Her lips trembled like she almost believed me, but doubt still lingered heavy in her expression. She leaned closer, resting her head on my chest. I wrapped both arms around her, desperate for warmth. Neither of us spoke again, fire filling the silence. When we got back home, things felt different. Not fixed, but like a thin thread held us together. We cooked dinner side by side quietly one night. Small moments of laughter slipped through the cracks again, like tiny reminders of how good we used to be. She brushed flour onto my shirt, messing around. I smiled bigger than I had in weeks, honestly. For a second, I saw the girl I first loved. And I think she saw the old me too. But then reality came crashing back after dessert. She asked, "What about your plans to move?" I froze mid-bite, because I'd been avoiding that question. "I don't know anymore," I said, flat and tired. Her eyes searched mine, looking for hidden truth. I didn't have any to give her that night. We cleaned up dishes in complete, awkward silence. Two people stuck between wanting and knowing better. Hope and fear battling in every glance exchanged. Love holding us hostage somewhere in the middle. Weeks passed, and we tried to live normal. Work, errands, Netflix nights that felt half alive. Sometimes we laughed like nothing was wrong anymore. Sometimes silence came back heavier than ever before. Our love felt like walking a tightrope daily. One wrong word, and everything could collapse instantly. One night, she sat across from me on the bed, hands folded like she rehearsed something serious. "I can't promise forever," she said slowly. Her honesty cut, but also strangely comforted me. I reached out and took her hands gently. "Then just promise today," I whispered back. She smiled through tears like that was enough. For now, enough to keep us from breaking. We lay there listening to cars pass outside, city noise blending with our uneven heartbeats. I realized maybe love isn't about certainty at all. Maybe it's about choosing even when unsure. And I chose her, even trembling in the dark. But the truth never fully disappeared inside us. She still dreamed of roots. I dreamed of wings. Our futures pulled in opposite directions silently. Yet our hearts dragged us back together constantly. Every touch carried both comfort and a hidden question. Would this last, or was it already fading? One morning she whispered while half asleep, "Don't leave yet," and it broke me completely, because I didn't know if I could stay forever. But I knew I wasn't ready to leave. So I kissed her forehead and held her close, pretending time would freeze inside that moment. Love hung between two fragile words always: stay and go, each one holding equal power. And maybe our whole story lived in that space, in the choice we had to make daily. So I'll ask you the same question we faced. Do you believe love survives when dreams don't match? Drop a comment, let me know your thoughts. And hit like if this story hit you too.